Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast, NBA edition. The NBA season is upon us starting on October 24th, so that is a couple weeks away. So we wanted to get you our NBA preview. So that means with the NBA season coming back, we have the return of the NBA aficionado, the NBA expert, Mr. Evan Debo. How are you doing today, sir? And welcome back.
Good to be back, Martin. It's good to be back for another season. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you. There was still basketball during the summer
Yep.
games. Team USA did not do so hot, Evan. Just a quick note.
No, they didn't. It wasn't our A team. It wasn't maybe even our B plus team. Still, solid guys. Just could get the job done, and uh, really struggled against Germany there a couple times. And I think the shockwave set for the NBA. And I think the A team's coming out for 2024.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of the top stars are now saying that they're interested and they want in. Evan, the only thing I would say on that, I don't like how the top stars are only interested after a USA team loses.
I agree with you. I don't like that either. I mean, there's legwork that goes into keeping and sustaining a program. Famously, Team Canada, is wants 4 years commitments out of folks. Jamal Murray wasn't willing to make that commitment. Jamal Murray's not on Team Canada. Now, granted, would they take him with open arms next year? Let's see if they bend on policy. But that was widely known that you take that kind of level of commitment. It shouldn't just be, hey, we show up when you turn the lights on. There's other things to be, and other talking points to get across in terms of sending a message to other countries and the friendly competition of basketball.
Agreed. Also, during the summer, during this podcast, we've talked a lot about the load management, how it's affecting the average customer who's busting their butt to pay for these tickets and their star player doesn't play that game. So it's heartbreaking. The NBA came out with rules to try and curb load management. The stuff of no more than one star can be unavailable at a game. Teams must ensure star players are available for national TV in season tournaments and a whole bunch of other rules. Evan, what were your thoughts on the NBA releasing these rules, and do you think they'll be effective?
They definitely had to try something, right? I mean, we've heard from the Richard Jefferson talking about load management. If that were a thing when his dad dropped him off with $10, the rest of the family didn't have enough money to get into a game because he wanted to go to a game growing up. And again, when you scrap and save and you go and pay prices to go to a game, you want to see the stars, especially when it's a road team coming to town. And my hope is for that next young Richard Jefferson out there, or anybody who wants to go see their favorite player play, this will be afforded the opportunity to do so. I mean, I hope this is a step in the right direction, and we'll see on the wrestling front. Obviously there's awards implications on top of the primetime TV stuff, but it'll be interesting to see how many people are really trying to chase down the I'm seriously injured route, and the league can't necessarily prove they're not. So I mean, that's where the rubber meets the road in this, right?
Agreed. And also, too, with a player has to play minimum 65 games of the regular season, or they'll be ineligible for like the major awards of like rookie, like MVP, rookie of the year, things like that, and all NBA teams and such. And we know that affects a lot of people's contracts because if you get all NBA, you can get an extra 40 million, $60 million. Hence that's how Jalen Brown is the new highest paid NBA player in history because he made all NBA and all of that. So that should be a big deal for some of these players.
It's good. I mean, that stuff matters. Acclaim and finances certainly matter, and when there's minimum games tied to it, absolutely it should. I mean, this is a prove it year to see, hey, are these things going to work or not? And I think it's worth trying.
And then it also included the tournament. So just quick thoughts. What's your thoughts on NBA trying to go a soccer type route, having a mid-season ish tournament?
I think it's again, it's still going to be tough if you're trying to compete for those eyeballs that are still on NFL games. At this time of year, but there's been long talks about you shorten the season, you take it to just basically start on Christmas Day or around Christmas and go on. This is your way to get people excited, right? In November, essentially, is to start working on bringing some attention and some interest to the early season. We think about how many athletes really struggle with health. Anthony Davis, all those folks, later on in the season, but there's awards to be had if they can stay afloat for a couple months here before the wear and tear of the regular season. Again, it's not as big and shiny as an NBA trophy, but I'm interested to see how this goes. Again, for your end of bench players on the payout, who aren't making a whole lot, this is a substantial amount if they were to win in place and split across the team. So I mean, try it and see, and then if it's not worth bang for the buck down the road, I mean, maybe it's something that ends up going away. But I'm all for trying to bring some attention to sport in the early or late stages of the fall before things really kick off when the calendar year switches over. What are your thoughts?
It's interesting because this is going to be the first time that we've ever had this type of tournament. I think my biggest thought is what's going to be the players give a crap level. Like, are they actually going to care about this tournament? What type of incentives are going to make players care about this tournament? So this tournament also jumpstart a team, like going forward for like the championship, that they played in these games and then they're really starting to click and they got some camaraderie and they go for a title. So I think the biggest thing is to give a crap level. If people care and it has stuff affecting them down the line, then we'll be into some good basketball, like you said, that will attract some eyeballs from the NFL, college football watchers. Like, oh, this is the first NBA tournament. Let me check it out. So that's something I will be interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, there's a lot to be said about how that's going to come about, but it's one of those things that is going to be when the lights shine, and I know ESPN and TNT will have, I think, 14 games of the group play.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you're striking the off nights of football for the most part, here and there, you're going to get a lot of eyeballs, around that too. So I mean, I think sports fans, as long as you like both sports, are going to end up winning out. So just a quick timeline for listeners: November 3rd is when group play begins. Group play ends November 28th. Teams are predetermined to have a set of 5 or 6 games in that group play, just like you said with soccer, that they're going to have. So those assignments already came with a schedule. We'll have quarterfinals December 4th through 5th, semifinals December 7th, and then the in-season tournament championship game will be held December 9th.
Love it. I love it. Evan, during the summer, everyone's been following all the basketball people, the Damian Lillard stuff. Damian Lillard wanted to go to Miami, supposed to go to Miami, all these things, but something unexpected happened. He didn't get traded to Miami. He got traded to Milwaukee and had the NBA world shook, if you want to go talk about the trade.
So they sending out Drew Holiday, who got rerouted back to Boston. I mean, I got to think on one end, obviously hindsight's 2020, but like, do you think there's any hesitancy with Milwaukee getting a star with the caliber of Dame if it ends up giving basically your in conference biggest competition, Drew Holiday, as an upgrade? Like, again, Drew Holiday really, hasn't lit the world on fire offensively and isn't that offensive caliber player that Damian Lillard is. Talk about just a straight upgrade from Milwaukee, but now, you go against a Boston and that's who's guarding Damian Lillard, is still one of the best premier guarded defenders in the league in Drew Holiday. And then you still got to come up with answers to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Boston also gets Kristaps. I mean, it was a bang bang move, with kind of an arms race there. Also, as a part of the 3-team deal, ended up being originally with Milwaukee, Phoenix, and Portland. DeAndre Ayton gets rerouted to Portland in that deal. Portland ends up getting some parts, gets really kind of $0.75 on the dollar for DeAndre Ayton, it seems. I mean, obviously they needed depth, and we knew that move was coming just based on his outing in the playoffs, everything else. They pick up Nurkic, they pick up Grayson Allen, a couple other players to add to their star-studded team out in the desert. But, I mean, for Milwaukee, I mean, you've got a short window of sorts, before Giannis could potentially, re-up long-term. That when you got a player like that, you got to keep taking big league swings, and they had to figure out something for an upgrade. I thought maybe there was a way to include Middleton in it, potentially, but it ended up being Drew out, along with a package of firsts as well. So, but it'll be interesting out here in the East. Temperature just definitely changed and elevated. Martin, what were your thoughts on the deal? For the Portland Trailblazers, who held out for so long, who said, Miami, what you're offering us, we're not interested in Hero. It's not enough. Do you think this justified them holding out for what they ended up getting back?
I think Portland got a lot back through all of this stuff. I do, with all the things they were able to get. And we also got to talk about the Suns getting Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Keon Johnson, Nazir Little. They got them in Portland where they had Drew, DeAndre Ayton, and they traded Drew away. I don't know, man. Obviously, like you said, Damian's a better offensive player than Drew Holiday. It's just the truth. In terms of their team now with Dame, Giannis, Middleton, Lopez, Portis, all of them, I don't know how you stop the pick and roll. Like, I'll be interested to see the Dame Giannis pick and roll from a basketball standpoint, because if you go under the screen, Dame could shoot from 30. If you go over the screen, Giannis will just dunk on 99% of the league. Giannis doesn't have to bring the ball up. He could be in the dunk spot, as we talk about hoops, and Dame could just get it to him. But like you said, before Drew went to Boston, I was like, all right, this okay. But the fact that Boston swooped in and got Drew, that has to be the best starting five in the league right now, on paper.
I think on paper, absolutely. I mean, they obviously, I think, they'll have their lumps because they have more of the roster changed over compared to what Milwaukee has. But when push comes to shove and it's playoff time, Porzingis has got to prove to be healthy.
Yes.
That goes with, again, health is such a huge part of the luck out factor piece. But, again, when it comes time for the playoffs, I'm right there with you. Who's got a better starting five, really? Obviously, Al Horford's up there in age, right? Mm-hmm. But, so, I mean, that's probably the weakest link in the chain there. But, again, man, they're stout. They're big, they're long. They're going for it. They're defensively there.
I think Boston's come to a point, too, where they're sick of it. They're sick of Miami's been to the finals more in these past 4 or 5 years than Boston has. Boston's only been that one time against the Warriors. Miami was there in 2020 against the Lakers in the lockout, and then they were just there last year against the Nuggets, and a team that, no disrespect from a talent perspective, is inferior to Boston, that keeps going to the finals, getting cracks at it, while Boston isn't. Dude, they're sick and tired of it. They need to get one, and they're trying to get one now, because I don't know how long that Boston team is going to be currently constructed, because they just gave Jason Tatum the 300 whatever million. Next year is going to, no, I'm sorry, they gave Jaylen Brown the 300 something million. This year is going to be Tatum. They're not going to be able to keep all these other players. So if this, from a cap thing, this is from a financial way, they have to do it this year, because the rest of this team will not be around that much longer if you're paying two players $600 million.
This is the I mean, really, this is the window for the next couple of years is try to win, then shell out for cheaper contract pieces, picks, if somebody's not going to wing it. But, they kept talking about splitting up Brown and Tatum. But you're able to bring in essentially Holiday and Porzingis, and it costs you Marcus Smart and Bob Williams, who's also very injured. Again, with some capital here and there too, but man, that's a heck of an upgrade. It just really is.
And on the flip side, with Dame, this is his best shot he's had ever to win a title. I know me and you have talked about it when Portland was in their prime. The Western Conference Finals, that was the pinnacle that they could have reached, and they reached it one time. That was the pinnacle. So they weren't ever going to get to the finals in the West. So this is his chance.
It really is. Hopefully, they still have a rookie coach in them. I mean, not that Boston's out coaching the league either, because I mean, arguably that's how they got so deep against Miami and ended up getting knocked out by Miami, was Joe Mazzulla messing stuff up. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to have some lumps to take like that. I mean, there could be some sleeper teams in the East, potentially jockeying for position higher than what their playoff ceiling it really is, as these teams figured out. But there's just so much talent on paper, Martin, that these teams are going to figure it out. When we get to our predictions here in a second, I've got a combination of these teams 1-2, and I don't know that there's anybody else that's even in their atmosphere right now.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be crazy, like seeing this go at it. But I would say with the basketball fans to temper also your expectations, because this past the 2010s and 20s, we've seen a lot of these quote unquote super teams be made through trades and all that, and then they don't win the championship. So obviously we got a long season to go, chemistry, coaching, like you've already said. Those things are going to matter. There's going to be injuries that we're not going to expect that are going to happen. So we have to watch those as well. But I will say a team that is affected by both of these trades in the Eastern Conference is our home state Cleveland Cavaliers, who, Evan, we talked about it months ago. The way they went out in the playoffs was just embarrassing. We have a new season, full season. What are your expectations for the Cavs?
So, the Cavs have, they've licked their wounds, right? They've taken that lump from the Knicks, out-rebounded almost every game. Let Robinson just eat them on the glass. Just Donnie didn't show up outside of game one, really. It was just bad overall. So, I mean, there's still a lot of figuring out with that team. So part of figuring out is trying to get a little better, right? So, over the offseason, just a quick recap, there's still a lot of question marks about, currently, Ricky Rubio has stepped away. He's back from all that I've read. He's back home overseas, some mental health time, definitely sending love and prayers off that dude's way as he, figures it out, finds it within himself to realize, and thankfully he did. I need to step away and get some other things right off the basketball floor. So, with that being said, Cavs were able to bring back Karis LeVert on a relatively good deal. They bring in Ty Jerome from the Warriors, young, lengthy, 26-year-old point guard, 6'5". They able to pull off a sign and trade. They sent out Jetty. They sent out Lamar Stevens. Were able to get back Max Strus. They signed George Niang off from the Sixers. So you add some more shooting where they sorely missed it. Because, I mean, the defensive game plan against Cleveland, Martin, was, listen, like, you've got 3 non-shooters, and you've got, so the 2 big, Mobley and Allen, and, Isaac Okoro, he had a much better second half of the year, but, I mean, still not reliable. And then as long as you can, keep the 2 guards from going off outside, that was the game plan. So the Cavs tried to address that, pick up Max Strus, obviously key part of how the Heat got back to the finals last year. A little bit undersized. That'll be your starting small forward height-wise, but he's somebody, again, who brings some much-needed shooting to the ranks. You'll have George Niang off the bench. They pick up Damian Jones, Tristan Thompson for some 6'9" and 6'11", 245 apiece. Beasts to come in and help rebound, set some hard screens, and all those types of things. Bring some toughness that they sorely missed in that Knicks series. So, Tristan seems like he's been in the league forever. I mean, he was a one and done player at Texas, coming back to the Cavs. Definitely, there was times where he was a late signee for the Lakers last year. As an extra person to fill a role on the bench heading the playoffs. But the dude's still 32. I watched him play in the preseason last night. He's definitely added on some LBs, not as much mobile as he used to be, but those are kind of the key pieces. And then there's a couple of wild cards in here too. So if you're looking at guard play, really like some of our two-way players, and Craig Porter Jr. Small guard. Had a really good summer league. Led his college team in rebounds and blocks as a guard, which is insane. And then obviously the one that I'm like really, really high on, former top recruit in basketball, had some off the court, issues and changing of college and stuff, and Amani Bates. Amani Bates in the Cavs' first preseason game last night came in, was drilling triples, had a sick up and under move, reverse layup last night too. I think there's a role for him on this team. As long as he keeps working at it, tries to put on some weight and stuff too. That's not a guy that the Cavs are going to outright rely on, but he could make a way for himself. So, are they in the Boston-Milwaukee echelon, Martin? No. Could they find themselves sneaking into maybe a 2 seed, 3 seed? As these other teams figured themselves out with not super experienced coaches, brand new for Milwaukee, year 2 for Joe Maz in Boston, figuring out all those lineup changes. There's something to be said about continuity, and the Cavs do bring back a lot of continuity this year, but they're not there. But this team is also nothing to sneeze at either. So.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. They're nothing to sneeze at. When it gets to the playoff time, which I do think the Cavaliers will make the playoffs, spoiler alert, they're going to be a tough out. I think definitely that, I don't know if I want to call it shellacking or embarrassment or just getting out toughed by New York should really propel this team. And like you said, obviously we don't have the Boston roster, we don't have the Milwaukee roster, but our starting five isn't anything to sneeze at either. You got 2 all-star guards in the back. You got 2 7 in the backcourt. You got 2 7-footers who can play in the front court. Like, our team their starting lineup isn't something to sneeze at as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is arguably the best defensive team in basketball last year too. So I mean, again, it's just going to be, do they have that ability? Can they put in enough wrinkles to stay competitive on the offensive side of the floor? This was also one of the slowest paced teams offensively in basketball last year. Are they going to be a little bit more competitive? Is Max Strus going to kind of bring with him what he did in Miami, where he was doing a lot of the off ball stuff and making people chase him around, and the pin down screens and players and all those backdoor cuts, all those types of things keep the wheels moving on the locomotive. So, with that being said, I like the upgrades. I think we, on paper, are better than what we were last year. It's just, again, time will tell, and there's games to be played, and injuries are going to take a toll on our team. Injuries are going to take a toll on all the other teams, and it's just a matter of where all those things line up to see how you progress. So, Martin, with that being said, we'll dance back on the Cavs here in a minute. But let's go ahead and dive into the lineup here for how we think some of the 23-24 school year is going to shake out.
Let's do it. Let's stay in the East since we're talking about the Cavs.
So I think you're in the same place as I am. We've done this long enough. I know you well enough. You know me well enough. I kind of teased a little bit ago. Who do you have? Who do you have 1, and who do you have 2, and why in the East?
I got Boston.
We'll go the rest.
I got Boston number 1, Milwaukee number 2 for the reasons we spoke about earlier. Boston starting 5 on paper is one of the best starting 5s I've seen in a long time on paper. Defensively, you have 2 all-star players You got a superstar in Jason Tatum who can get you 40 or 50 sometimes. Drew Holiday's had big games as well. Porzingis, I'm not too high on the Porzingis thing just because the unicorn that his nickname was in New York, he just hasn't panned out to me. I know he has like the skill set, but to me, it just hasn't panned out. Missoula has a second year of coaching. And after we talk about we got embarrassed. They got embarrassed. And the Eastern Conference Finals, obviously, they lost to the last and eighth seed. So I got them number one. They got a lot to prove. I got them number two. And then number two, Milwaukee, one of the top two players in the league, Giannis. I mean, this guy's been walking 30 and 11 for the past this 4 or 5 year stretch. Dame Lillard, I don't know where top five, top 3 point guard in the league. Definitely a top 2, 3 shooter in the league who could shoot from 30, 40, can close a game out. So Giannis doesn't have to take every last second shot. I think those two are the clear top two of the East right now.
I have them in the same order. I don't need to belabor the exact same points I'm going to make because you laid it out so well. Again, I think there might be. I just think again, brand new coach, learning a brand new system, bringing in such a huge part of score and game. Not that Boston isn't incorporating two new folks in their starting lineup, but again, I just feel like Boston built for even. I mean, again, on paper, which team can afford more of hey, we're going to lose a player. Say injury hits one of these two teams, we're going to lose one of our big guns for 12 of the first 37 games. Who can sustain that and move forward all right? It's Boston. Milwaukee just doesn't have can't afford having Giannis out for a long period of time. Can't afford having Lillard out for a long period of time, especially with I'd feel better about it potentially if Middleton didn't, kind of struggle last year coming off his sizable surgery and, working his way back. He did work his way back into form, but I got to see some more sustained pieces with that. So all those things aside, in addition to what you said, I've got those teams 1-2. So now here's where the real fun begins. Martin, before you get to the play-in, how do you rank them 3-6 in the East?
All right. I got the Cavs at 3. I have the Sixers at 4, the Knicks at 5, and the Eastern Conference champion Heat at 6.
We're getting close here. So we almost went 6 for 6. Almost went for 6 for 6. I, too, again, Cleveland ain't nothing to sneeze at. I've got Cleveland at 3.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Philly at 4, despite all the James Harden stuff, and nobody wants to pay a premium for a guy like that. There's still enough rumblings with the Clippers and everything else that I figured somehow they'll part him out into some pieces around Joel, and it's still Joel, man, and it's still Maxey, who's take all those long dribble the ball, dribble for 20 seconds, and figure something out. Harden plays and give them to Maxey to shoot more. That's still a formidable team. I also have the Knicks 5. But I've got kind of a surprise coming up. I'm the Indiana Pacers number 6.
Okay.
So you got Halliburton, you got Hield. They acquire from the Knicks. They get Obi Toppin, Miles Turner. This is a team that I think is. I saw a lot of good from last year. But I think there's a chance that again, if there's wins to be picked up from teams that are figuring out towards the top of the board and stuff, and are just trying to wait till the playoffs to turn it on, I think Indiana is a team that could capitalize.
Okay.
So let's move on to the 4. So that's the 6 for me. That's 6 for you. So let's move into the play-in. I assume some combination, probably some teams you left out, some combinations of a team that I left out, definitely in this mix. So you went first last time. I'll jump in here. So number 7, I have Brooklyn Nets.
Okay.
All their wings, and even with the lead anchor of Benjamin Simmons, I still think they find a way to either maybe consolidate some of the wings and get some assets or get another good asset to come in to compete. Or, I think they're a feisty team potentially as is. So I've got them number 7. Number 8, I have in the infamous number 8 spot, the Miami Heat. Again, losing, I still think there's some stuff. You lost Max Strus. You lost Gabe Vincent to the Lakers. It's Miami. They'll find dudes off the scrap heap. And, we saw last night in the preseason game, Cole Swider from the Lakers played with them last year, come in and drill a whole bunch of threes in the fourth, and it's just like plug and play like Pat Riley and Spo do. So, but, still, those are some continuity pieces. Bam and Jimmy can't carry, all the load over and over and over again. I got them 8, followed by 9 and 10, Atlanta and Chicago.
All right. So my plan, first one, I have the Hawks at 7, just because the Hawks, I don't know, man. They're always like one of those top play-in teams, and then they can randomly find themselves infamously in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like Trae Young, I know some people aren't really into his game, but he is a double-double with points and assists typically, and he could shoot the lights out. They just find a way. 8, I have the Bulls. They have DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, those guys, they have nothing to sneeze at offensively. They find the way to win, too. They were in the play-in last year. 9, I have the Nets for the same reason that you had them at 7. And 10, I have the Pacers.
Okay. I could get on with that.
What were your thoughts? Did you ever think about putting Washington? I almost put them at the 10 spot. It was between them and the Pacers.
I didn't consider them. The interesting one I was missing from mine that it'll be interesting to see Toronto Raptors, right?
Yeah.
So how far truly do they fall? How frisky are they? I could see where, hey, I really thought way too highly of Indiana. And again, that's why we take takes, and they end up being a team that's in there and in the mix and much higher. I think that's absolutely a team that can make a run, but just there's locker room issues up there. There's a reason they ran Nick Nurse out. The players had that locker room, and Nick Nurse was, by all accounts, like, I'm out. Like, I nothing more to do here. They're not interested in hearing what I have to say. You lose Fred VanVleet, play some Dennis Schroeder, who did have a great run with Team Germany in summer, but that's the one that I think I definitely, I can see myself kicking myself for not having in. But Washington, it's going to be the Jordan Poole show. He's going to put up points on a bad team. They've got a lot to figure out, and it'll probably be through the draft. So, and not this year. It'll be because they're bad and they're getting good picks.
I love it. Let's go to the West Coast, man.
All right. So 1-2, I've got the reigning champs, the Denver Nuggets, number 1, followed by the Phoenix Suns at number 2. Obviously, a phenomenal offseason for them. Pick up Brad Beal. Again, we talked about them sending out Ayton and getting back some more depth. They're really able to kind of work on that piece and get some extra ball handlers, the Grayson Allens of the world. I think they still have Josh Okogie, who had some good depth for them at the kind of wing position last year too. So I've got them at number 2. Number 3, I have rising a little bit this year. Back to maybe last dance form, the Golden State Warriors. Followed by 4, Los Angeles. Had a fairly good offseason themselves. Again, to go from where they were, mid-season trades, to picking up, Gabe Vincent and, having a throw-in and Christian Wood at the very end of your bench. Some of these things, I think they were able to pick up some points at the foul line and just, grow a little bit. So real impressed with their offseason. I have them 4. I have the Pelicans 5. They could climb a little bit if we get anything of what Zion might be Zion. And number 6, I've got after 25 games. I think that's going to show a reflection in what their end of the year looks like. But you bring in Marcus Smart, have other couple tweaks in the roster too. I think they'll wait it out. You get Mr. Adams back as well, setting menacing screens that hurt a whole bunch. I think they're still going to be right there in the thick of it. So, but I've got them slipping to 6. Martin, what about you?
Okay, I have the same 1 and 2 as you. I got Denver and Phoenix. I almost thought about putting Phoenix at 1 just because Denver just came off of a title, so they might have the mindset of, oh, we need to play our best ball post All-Star break, so it's okay to lose. I thought about that, but I was just like, since they're the returning champs, I'm gonna put them at 1. 3, I have the Western Conference runner-up, the Lakers, just because they got better and they beat Golden State in the semis last year. I do have Golden State at 4. I don't know. We talk about trades, obviously, offseason. I don't know what this Chris Paul thing is going to look like. I really don't. They may be too small on the perimeter to defend. So I'm interested to see how that goes. 5, depending on how it goes, I got the good old Clippers at 5 because Paul George.
Got to play now.
Yep, Paul, Kawhi. Russell Westbrook really turned them, like he did wonders for them when he got there. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays a full season with them. And my 6th spot with the Rise, because they have more experience and they have their quote unquote rookie coming in. I have OKC at 6. I have them being my Sacramento Kings of this year.
I don't disagree with putting them that high. I mean, obviously, I didn't on my end, but I think easily as high as them. They got Chet now, so they've got somebody to try to play center. I think that's a good pick.
I really like them.
What about your playing teams? Go ahead and finish it off.
Well, we talked about this guy ad nauseum last year too. I got Memphis at 7, even though I really like the addition of Marcus Smart and Derrick Rose. Marcus more for the playing, Derrick Rose more for the leadership, with Marcus telling John that young core to keep their crap together, because we talked about it last year. We were older than most of the players on that team, and that's saying something.
Oh, yeah.
So I got them. I got the Kings taking a step back this year, but I still think they're going to make the play, and it's just the West is always the West. I then, what am I missing on here? I got the Kings. I got, the Pelicans. Yeah, I got the Pelicans at 9. Man, this team was as high as like a 2 to 4 seed when fully healthy last year, but what are we going to get from Zion? He had a lot of offseason stuff as well. Don't know how that's going to be. And then at 10, I got the Timberwolves. Even though Team USA did not do well, for anyone who watched, Anthony Edwards improved. Like, that was good for him. He's ascending. So I got them at 10. I'm leaving the Dallas Mavericks off because, to be honest, I'm so pissed off about what they did last year to try and they purposely missed the playoffs to try and get Victor, and then they didn't even get him. So I'm still mad about that. So they're off my thing.
Number 7, I have OKC 1 spot below you.
Okay.
All the reasons you mentioned. I think Shea is a hard MVP candidate. Had a great summer with Team Canada. Number 8, I have the Sacramento Kings. At number 9, I have the LA Clippers, and at 10, I also have Minnesota. So with LA, I just want to say, I mean, we mentioned earlier, I mean, find me another of any team in basketball. If Philadelphia is going to get off of the James Harden deal, is there anything going to that's not the Clippers? Do you see him anywhere else? Somebody's willing and desperate enough to say, we'll take him.
What was the clip? I don't know, man. Because what are the? Obviously, they have to move off Russ. They have to move him out because there's no way you can have.
I don't know that Philly would take. I don't know if Philly would take him unless they're sending back draft capital, which they don't have because they gave it to OKC. So I don't know if they want that unless you're taking back Tobias and then they're punting trying to do another move after that after they freed up some space. But I mean, you have to send back Man. You have to find some other bits and parts and pieces so Philadelphia could still be competitive. But I'm almost thinking in my projection, I'm thinking the Clippers are having James Harden at some point this year.
We're gonna have to wait and see on that.
Personally, I hope he does get dumped to like the Wizards, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But
just want to go back real quick.
Real
quick, did you have Memphis at 5 and the Pelicans at 6, or vice versa?
5. Again, mainly with Grizzlies losing a little bit, just without Ja for 25 games, and then the Pelicans also too. You've sent your backup point guard, Mr. Jones, over to DC. So that was the guy who kept the ship afloat many times when Ja was out and injured. So, and then a little bit of roll the dice on the Pelicans that they'll get some healthy there. You'll get some more Zion and McCollum and Brandon Ingram together for a change. So, but probably a little more optimism than anything.
Oh, no, I was checking because for some reason I didn't have your 5 and 6, and I was like, I know they're Memphis and the Pelicans. I just didn't know which order. We are good on that. It seems like why did you leave off Dallas?
I just don't think they have the depth. I don't think they have the defense. They definitely don't have the parts. I mean, they've sold out around Luka and Kyrie. I mean, I just don't see where they have the rest of the pieces around them. I mean, your big free agent signings, Grant Williams, who couldn't make the floor in the East Finals with Boston against Miami. Like, I don't, and it sucks. Like, I do want nothing more for the fans in Dallas to have a successful team and for Luka to be there, like Dirk, for his career and everything else. So we're heading towards messy breakup if they keep missing the playoffs. And if you're hitching your wagon, Kyrie Irving, wrong. Over and over and over again. We'll take this sideways. We are, obviously there's a lot of for this podcast, a lot of heavy thoughts and parts on really two different wars right now, internationally. We are one Kyrie Irving tweet away from a lengthy suspension for this team.
No,
hurt himself or say something that's incredibly insensitive or hurtful, and he's got to be his own person with his PhD in third eye studies. I don't know, but if that's your team dependent upon basically 50% of its output being him, no, I'm making the playoffs.
Fair enough. Quickly, just because, sports betting is legal in most states now, we have some over and unders on total NBA total wins. We'll just ask each other 3 on here and then keep it moving as we are pressed for time. Obviously, it got to start. Evan, Cleveland Cavaliers, 50.5 wins is what they're projected at, so over 50 wins. Do you think they're going to have over or under?
They hit 50 last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've upgraded the roster and got better.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the teams in the East, your Charlotte, your Washington, are going to be bad. So you're trying to figure out where those extra wins go in places. I mean, I'd say by the slimmest of margins, over.
Okay. I mean,
1 win. So I'll say over.
I don't disagree.
Martin, let's take it west for my next one for you. So Oklahoma City at 44.5. Over under.
I got over. I got them close to 47 to 50 games. I really believe in this team, man. I think this, I really think they could be the Kings of last year and just really burst onto the scenes for people who didn't watch them last year.
They could.
But
Yeah, I mean, I think they could take the king spot. I mean, again, it's just they've definitely got some forces there, and I mean, shit, so good. He really is.
all right, well, I gotta throw it to then your team, a little sleeper in the East, your Pacers, over under 38 and a half wins.
Well, if I need to make a
6 seed, I think I got to have them over. So I'm gonna take. So optimistically, I will take them. I will take the over on the Pacers as well if my predictions can come to fruition. Martin, let's stay East. I think this one's. I'm just gonna say I think this one's high, man. I really do. I can't believe this is right. I'm going to hop off and go ahead and place a bet myself. The Miami Heat at 48 and a half.
Oh no, under. They just, man, the regular season, I just don't get it. They just don't do anything.
It's
like
fine if you think like that's going to move. I'm afraid that thing has moved since we put this in the planning sheet. Like that, I'm going to miss out on some money here. Like,
oh yeah, I'm going to have to look
who
at
put
these
that
myself.
down on the sports book?
I don't know. It's a lot.
Half.
That's a lot. That for the Miami Heat team who was actually struggling to make the playoffs. Obviously, they've had the magical run, but no, they're not winning 48. They're not winning over 48 games.
46 wins lower.
Not a chance. Well, let's take it to the king. The Los Angeles Lakers, they're at 48 and a half, so the same as the Miami Heat. What do you think?
Oh man, I just think the West is so good at the top. I mean,
I think they're pot. I think they have it within them. Again, it's just all health. I mean, you got LeBron in year 21. AD's a constant question mark. I think they got more depth.
Oof.
Slightly.
Yeah.
46, 47,
I feel like would be a really good Lakers season with where they're at and what they're built for.
Yeah, I think it's slightly as well. It's not by a lot.
And then Martin, I've got another one for you. So the walking conundrum that is
go back to Toronto
Raptors.
36 and a half.
They're projected over under.
I really think the Raptors are going to lose win less. Oh, man. I'm going to go over and say they win 38.
Oof.
Barely.
We'll see. I mean,
yeah, we'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, 30, 32, 33.
good, but
I mean, I feel like that's high for a team that didn't really get any better over the offseason and lost a couple pieces.
True. That's true.
well, we'll see.
We will see. But let's close it off with some of the awards. Obviously, these are predictions, so we'll have to follow these throughout the year. We'll only do a couple of them and get ours down for the pod so you guys can follow our predictions. Evan, Most Valuable Player Award. Who is your predicted MVP?
Jason Tatum.
Ooh, getting his first one.
First one.
Best player.
Best team.
Oh, the classic. The classic. Man,
How about you?
since I've been so high on him, and I'm going SGA, man. It's another Oklahoma City Thunder is getting an MVP, which would give them 3 that were on that team when they got MVP. Durant was on Oklahoma City when he got his. Russell. I'm going SGA. He's a dog.
Nobody can stop him. He could carry it. That's not a huge take Rookie of the year.
I mean, no disrespect to the media, but is it hard to not choose? Doesn't it have to be Victor? The media is all behind him. I mean, I don't think there's any other option.
Healthy now?
Yes. He was going at it with Chet in the preseason game. Okay. Most improved.
I think the summer for Team USA
basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Watch
a little bit more ownership in the offense in a preseason game the other night. Again, it's preseason. You can't base everything off preseason. In terms of aggression, in terms of turning the corner, in terms of picking and choosing spots.
Got Paulo taking up
a couple rungs on the ladder.
Okay. You cut out there a little bit. Who did you take?
Paolo Banchero.
Okay. Paulo. Hey, okay. Ooh, well, that's a good pick. That's a good pick. Oh, man. Most improves. This weird because sometimes even like John Morant got a most improved a couple years ago, and I was like, yeah. I think of a team that's going to be bad because he's going to be the main focus and he's going to keep the team afloat. I don't know if I could really say most. I'm going to go Mikal Bridges.
Yeah. He will keep the team afloat.
Right.
Defensive player of the year.
You know, this person, he's gotten screwed out of a couple awards these past couple years, especially on this end.
You know that's where I'm going.
So I and don't even get me started on the rookie of the year stuff. I'm going Evan Mobley.
I think Big Dog's going to eat. Evan Mobley as well.
All right, Mark. We were
split on who we thought was going to be the league's most valuable player. You picked a Western Conference player. I picked an Eastern Conference player. By default, those folks need to be our picks for best player in the East, best player in the West.
Yep.
So who will be your best player in the East if your best player in the West is SGA?
Oh, man. East is loaded. I don't want to go. I want to go Jason, but you already had Tatum. So I am going to go because I think he's just going to be more efficient. I'm going the newcomer, man. Let me get Dollar Dame.
Dollar Dame Lillard.
The newcomer.
That's a take.
West coming east. That's a take. Western Conference for me. The reigning MVP.
Love it.
West runs
through Denver.
I love it. I love it. Hell, who knows? He might be if he's Western Conference Player of the Year. That means he's going to be in that MVP running again. Lord help. If he's averaging close to a triple-double, Evan, they can't deny him like they did last year. But I like that.
Reckon with dude just wants to get back to his horses.
That is true. That is true. Evan, do you have any other things you want to say before this season starts on the 24th?
I can't think of it. I think
we've covered just about everything. I am rarely somebody
left without words still to say.
But, again, I think it's a beautiful time of year, blending football and basketball. While we've got them for a couple weeks and a couple months. So looking forward to it, Martin. And there's going to be a lot to recap when we get together here next. So we'll be probably partway through the tournament, the new in-season tournament. And I'm sure there'll be tons of storylines, potentially a James Harden move, and we'll see how the league shapes out.
Yeah, agreed. There's so many storylines to follow this season. Obviously, with the trades, Boston and Milwaukee live up to the hype. what are the Nuggets going to do as the defending champs? The Lakers, obviously, with number 23 and Anthony Davis there. Even the drama stuff, like you said, James Harden. We haven't said this person's name because we don't know if he knows how to play anymore. Ben Simmons trying to come back. We'll actually see if we get to see a Ben Simmons game this year because he could help.
Say his name earlier.
Because he could help the Nets. He could if he's anything. But we'll have to wait and see on that. This year is going to be very exciting. I don't know. I like our picks, but then again, these things could change on a drop of the hat. But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be real exciting this season. It'll be exciting. And with that being said, thank you, everyone, for listening to the L7C podcast. Make sure you follow our picks throughout, and we'll be following them, and then we'll be back. Don't know the next time, and then talk about the stuff, all things NBA. With that being said, L7C signing out.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.